Maxwell Hiller, the nation's #1 recruit, commits to the Gators, and they're not done today. We're also going to have my 5-star review right here on the Portal Podcast.
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Back into the Portal Podcast, where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal scoop. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day, right here on the nation's #1 sports podcasting podcast, Locked On. We are going to be talking about Florida having a very important recruit yesterday. He's my #1 recruit in the nation. That would be Maxwell Hiller. We're going to be talking about the impending commitment. It seems like it's going to be Florida. Stranger things have happened with quarterback Davin Davidson. We're going to talk about my 5-star review and just recruit rundown. What's going on in the recruiting world, the top prospects committing, decommitting. We'll get to all of that on today's show. But I do want to start with Maxwell Hiller, and this is for those of you watching live or later on. This is him last year at Future 50. He's an offensive lineman from just outside of Philadelphia at Coatesville, Pennsylvania. It's a suburb, and he's a young man that is as dominant as it gets in terms of technique, passion, versatility. He's got natural size. His kick step is good. He's consistent. He could play guard, tackle, or center. I do not care. I watched him live take on the best pass rushers in the country. It was a loaded group last year at Future 50 at Under Armour, and he was the #1 player there. He went up against everybody. Zyron Forstall, who's committed to Texas A&M. He went up against Jabbar, that's going up. He was committed to Bama. He's probably going to end up at A&M. We'll see. Maybe Florida State. He also took on Crew Jones, is going to Oklahoma. He beat everybody in some capacity, and he was the #1 lineman at the end of the day. So love him as a recruit. Congrats to the Gators. Congrats to that entire staff, the back office, to give all the credit. Getting a kid from Philadelphia, if you're UF, and I know Phil Trotwine has connections up there. He was at Penn State. I get it. But that's still not easy. That's still not easy. They went and got the best player, in my opinion, all around in the country. And getting guys that can play tackle, that matters. Hats off to Florida across the board. Now, what does that mean for Gator fans and people that don't like the Gators? Nothing definitive yet. Again, there was a connection with Trotwine. I totally get it. But you have to think that there could be a storm brewing here. They should get Davin Davidson later today. I think he's committing at like 7:30 Eastern tonight. But that's not the end of it. They've had some really good rumblings in the last few weeks. They got their spring game this weekend. Do not be surprised that over the course of the next month, scattered out, that you start to see a few of the dominoes fall. It's not like it used to be as often where you have like 5-6 guys in like a day or two. Those aren't very common, but it's about totality. I'm willing to bet they will have, at minimum, a top 10 class by the end of June, early July. I'd say 4th of July. By then, most of the kids are committed for the summer cycle, at least. They'll have a top 10 class at minimum based on what they've done so far. If they don't, then there's some holes in the boat. They've got too many guys that they've had on campus. They've had too many really good visits from the intel that I've had. They should be a team that ends up like really every year in the top 10. It's Florida. It's something that Napier did to a certain degree. I mean, he's not a bad recruiter, to be honest. Just wasn't a very good game day coach. But if Sumrall can continue this trend, especially in the trenches where O-line recruiting for UF for years, I'm sure many Gator fans will tell you this. Not even in the stratosphere where it should be, not even close. If they can up their game there, both sides of the ball, to be clear, this is a program that will finish in the top 5 of the SEC most years. Now we just got to see if they can coach in the fall, and that's just something you got to wait on. But the recruiting is not hard there. A dead rat can recruit to UF. It's not a difficult task. Congrats to them. And again, I'll explain why now that I like Maxwell Hiller so much. But the most important thing to know, again, is his ability to do a little of everything at a critical position. And to that end, here are my categories for what makes a 5-star recruit. Dominates top competition, versatility, and that's something that Maxwell Hiller certainly possesses. The size, the speed, the measurables for whatever position a young man plays. Football intelligence, the ability to adapt. If you're a quarterback, knowing when to spike the football, knowing when to get out of bounds, knowing when to knock the football down instead of trying to intercept it. There's a lot of different things that get messed up. Even with all the talent in the world, football intelligence matters. Consistency. Play well against great competition, yes, but don't lay down against teams that aren't as good as you. Preparation, and that means on and off the field. How you eat, how you sleep. Are you hanging with the right people? Do you go to class? Are you respectful of your elders, your teachers, the people around you? And then, of course, position. Offensive tackle, defensive end, defensive tackle, corner, quarterback. Those matter. You could put boundary receiver, that big-bodied 6'3", 205-pound guy like a Monchin Sales, who's 6'4.5", 210 pounds out of Indianapolis. Guys like that, sure. But those are my list. Those are the items that I think really matter. And you could probably add to this, but those 7 are ones you're going to hear from college coaches, and I've gotten a lot of these from college coaches, and I'm steadfast with it. What does Maxwell Hiller do best? If you're curious as to why I'm going to rank him number 1 when my rankings come out, it's pretty simple. There's nothing that he does that I go, man, that's a problem. I've seen it live. The frame is good. The length is good. The footsteps, they're consistent, whether he's getting a guy that's bull rushing, speed rushing, counter move. He doesn't get out over his toes. He's as consistent in one-on-ones as I can remember a guy in the last few years. And at these Under Armour camps, we see a lot of it. I go to 5-on-5 competitions now. That's the new thing, by the way. If you're a lineman and you're not a part of a 5-on-5 team, that's on you. Look it up, find one in your area, talk to trainers, talk to people, whatever you want to do. Message me on X. I've got an open inbox, FBScout_Florida. 5-on-5 matters. He's just dominant. My buddy Ray that runs Power 5 Elite, I asked him a couple weeks ago at a tournament. I said, what do you think about him? What position could he play? Because he can play any of them. I said, yeah, I think he's the best player in the country. Ray's been training him for a while. He's on his team. Just love everything about Maxwell Hiller. He's a yes, sir, no, sir, no nonsense, blue collar kind of guy. Like everything about him fits the barometer of a future NFL offensive lineman. And I don't just say offensive tackle because I think he could be an all-pro at guard too. It doesn't even matter. He has the length to play tackle, so that's probably where he'll play. But if he wanted to kick inside, sure, he could do that. I wouldn't even put out the notion that he can't play center either. That's not easy. But Hiller is a very intelligent young man. He'd figure it out. And center's hard because of all the adjustments, knowing where everybody's got to be. I would play that at his feet in a heartbeat if I had to, even in pinch. Like he would figure it out. Snapping, taking on interior players, that's not an easy endeavor. Maxwell Hiller would figure that out. To me, these ingredients combined, you can pick somebody else if you want. If you want to go DJ Jacobs, if you want to go Mark Matthews, another really good tackle. If you want to go Lanier or one of the great receivers, Jamarin Simmons, like there's a ton of guys that I'm going to talk about over the next week or two for 5-star status. That's fine. But the most consistent player, the one with the best versatility, the on and the off field mentality, like the way he's mental makeup, I think the consistent point here is he doesn't have a weakness. Like there is no definitive at this stage of his career, or maybe career. He's not. You're never done learning as an offensive lineman or a football player. But I will take Maxwell Hiller over anybody, and I'm steadfast with that. It's ironic. I was getting ready to do this, and then he committed yesterday, and I'm like, well, this kind of works out good. I'm going to start releasing my 5 stars, and we can talk about him. So congrats to UF. There are probably going to be some more congrats coming to them very soon. Davin Davidson, they should have their quarterback of the future out of Cardinal Mooney in Sarasota, 6'5", 6'6" kid that can really spin it, barring something unforeseen again. He is expected to go to UF. If he doesn't, I'd love to know the backstory on what happened there. But we'll get into that more here in a little bit. And we'll also talk about my 5-star reveal. We'll also get into the comments in the chat. That is next, right here on the Portal Podcast. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are here where every possession matters. Every matchup is magnified and every game can swing a series. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a great way to get in on the action. You can bet just $5, and if it hits, $250 in bonus bets will be headed your way. It's an easy app to use, and it also isn't just to place a bet. If you want to check out the stats like you would normally would at some other site, whatever your favorite one is, Fox, ESPN, CBS, whatever it may be, you can still do that, but why not do it all on FanDuel stats, player trends, anything that you want to do so you can figure out the matchups and everything else. And during the playoffs, that extra insight really matters when you're looking at the stars, the rookies, and everybody else. Head over to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game. Make sure you check out the link down below in the description for Locked On's best opportunity. If you want to get your pods with ads, you can even get a month for free. Use code MARCH. Check out the Everydayer Club right here for Locked On the Portal. Down in the link or description below, check out the link. All right, I'm going to release – Hiller is obviously one of them. He's my number one player. I'm going to release 3 other guys that I think are at the very top. Then I'm going to release just 3 guys I'm not going to talk about where I'm going to rank them, but they're top 25 guys or so for me. I'm going to release 30 players over the next week. Today is 6. By the end of next week, I'll have 30. Today's just the first 6, and there's no order. When we get to the end, I may rank. I'm not just sure if I want to go into full rankings. It's a little early for that. There's a few kids that I haven't seen live, and it makes it tough. But nonetheless, I'm just going to talk about some of these players, and everybody can have their own opinions. Again, I'm just going to give you backdrop on what I've seen. I'm going to talk about the recruitments, where they're from, why I think they're a little bit different. And again, it's those same points. Matter of fact, I'm going to throw them back up on the screen. Just these are the things that I use: domination, versatility, size, speed, measurables. Is it a smart football player? Does he play consistently? What is that young man like on and off the field? And then at the end of the day, I mean, it's just true. Position matters. If you're a middle linebacker, well, they're great. It doesn't have the same value as a quarterback or an offensive tackle. Part of those things do come into the equation. So to that end, my list is probably a little bit different than some. The 3 that I think are pretty much no doubt throughout this year are very unlikely to change in terms of being in my top 5 are Maxwell Hiller, DJ Jacobs, the incredibly gifted defensive end out of Blessed Trinity in Georgia. He's an Ohio State commitment. And then Mark Matthews, the offensive tackle out of St. Thomas Aquinas down in South Florida. Roger Harriet and his crew have an incredible machine going there. Miami, Ohio State, or A&M are probably the most likely. We'll see where he ends up. Those are my 3 steadfast 5 stars. The chances of them not ending up a 5-star at the end of this year are pretty low, barring them getting into trouble off the field, or if they make a very poor decision and do something like go out, goof around with their friends and get hurt. Like, again, off the field matters. How did you get hurt? If it's one thing to get hurt in a game, but if you get hurt doing something stupid, that matters. 3 more players that are going to be 5 stars for me right now, and in no particular order. Joshua Dobson, a corner just outside of Charlotte, plays at U High School, just north. South Carolina's got an OV set with him. He's a corner, 6'1", 185. South Carolina's June 19th. Clemson, Auburn, Texas, Miami, several other programs still trying. We'll see where he goes. That one is really about 2 things with me. He is electric when he breaks on the ball, and I think he's a position flexibility guy to the point where if you put him at nickel, either one of the corner spots, if you play boundary and field, right, left, I don't care. That's fine. And I think he would be a good free safety. He has very good ball skills. And if you really wanted to, you could probably play Dobson at running back or receiver. He's just a very gifted football player. It's kind of track build to him. He's very competitive. We'll see where he goes. But again, South Carolina is the only visit that I know of that he hasn't lined up officially. If I had to just pick one corner, it would probably be him. And this is as good a corner group as you're going to see in the country. There are about 6 of them that I'd have no problem with you picking, but that's one of them. Albert Simien. This is a unique pick, and I don't think a lot of people will place him as a 5-star. Some have, but a couple of reasons for him right off the bat for those that are questioning it. He's probably going to end up inside. I think he could play right tackle, but I think he can be an All-American guard and an All-Pro at that. Here's my deal. 6'4", 290, give or take, maybe 5 pounds lighter. LSU, Texas A&M, Notre Dame, and the free world will recruit him. He's not decided. Plays at Sam Houston High School down in southwest Louisiana, down in the swamp, a little bit west of New Orleans, maybe an hour and a half away, something like that. Plays with a good base, naturally powerful, incredibly nimble in space. Screen game or climbing to the second level, he's good at it. He doesn't get into awkward positions with his body, even against somebody that's much smaller trying to dodge him because they know they can't go through him, a safety, per se, or a corner. Doesn't do that. I've seen him play right in front of me. I've watched him in drills. I watched him struggle with a drill the first time he did it, and by the second or third one, he's got it. So he picks things up quickly. So he's an intelligent football player. And then above all else, off the field, speaking with Albert Simien, like that's exactly what you want in your program to represent your program. Highly doubt he's going to be a guy that gets in a lot of trouble. There is no program in America that doesn't want guys like that on their roster. All the physical traits, and he's the guy that you can put in front of the podium at a booster function and everybody likes him. Across the board, that's exactly what you're looking for. Jamarin Simmons, a kid that I just know very, very well, not as publicized, not very many other people will consider him for 5-star outside of me, but he plays at Godby. The problem is he's in North Florida, not Central or South Florida. That's not his fault, but that's where he plays. Godby is in Tallahassee. It's a tradition-rich program, but they don't have the same clout as like St. Thomas Aquinas, where Mark Matthews plays. He doesn't have the same clout at those kinds of programs, any of them down there in South Florida, the private schools or Miami Northwestern, Miami Central, Tampa Jesuit, or Orlando Jones. They all get more pub. So be it. But I've watched him dominate this spring. He's been dominant at Under Armour. He's got rivals. Doesn't matter which 7-on tournament he goes to. He's always putting highlights up. And in pads last year, he had as good a catch as I saw the entire season. If you go check out Jamarin Simmons' Instagram, one-handed grab with the guy falling on him, toe tap out of bounds, like it's off a computer screen. Elite hands, elite speed, elite change of direction, route runner, wants to dominate, talks football, breathes football. That's the kind of guy I want on my team. Clemson is the most likely recipient of his commitment. Numerous SEC schools and Florida State are in pursuit. We'll see where he goes, but probably Clemson, barring something unforeseen. I really like Jamarin's upside, though. He's 5'11", just under 170, elite player, and just good guy to be around, too. So I like him a lot. When we come back, I'm going to jump into the chat. Then we're going to talk a little bit about some of the commitments and some of the rundown of who's committed or decommitted a little bit here recently. That is next on the Portal Podcast.
I'm Clea Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. UCLA made history by winning its first NCAA Women's Basketball National Championship, dominating South Carolina 79-51. The Bruins controlled the game from start to finish with elite defense and balanced scoring, finishing the season 37-1. Star center Lauren Betts was named Most Outstanding Player, leading a team effort that capped a 31-game winning streak. Under head coach Corey Close, UCLA secured a landmark title that has been decades in the making. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes. I'm coming back for more every time. Mazda puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment. Putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
Let's break down a few things with the commitments here in just a minute. But first, I want to jump into the chat. And thank you to everybody that came in today. Appreciate it. I really enjoy doing this. So what do we got here today? Katie, Coach Sumrall recently said D-line is the position group that has built his confidence. They've got some talent there. But I did a podcast for this morning with Brandon Olson, who runs Locked On Gators. We both agreed that watching Florida's pass rush last year, like a 4-man front, it was horrible, especially by Florida standards. I'm curious to see what they do and what clips come out and what rumors come out from the spring game. I haven't really paid attention to much of that. I need to call a couple of my Gator people. But to be honest with you, Florida should never be one where the D-line's bad. It shouldn't be that hard. What's up, Jared? I appreciate you stopping in. Happy Thursday to you, my friend. Max Morgan, you think the Gators land Zayden Gamble? Right now, it's hard to say. Florida or Notre Dame, depends on who you talk to. That's a long way to go. He's a South Florida kid, man. Zayden's a great guy, too. I had a chance to be around him a couple of times. He's a good dude. Howdy, Brian from Tommy Guns. What's going on? Tommy thinks he's going to Notre Dame. By the way, Tommy's a big Notre Dame fan. Will his brother play basketball at Florida? I'm not sure who you're referring. Are you talking about? Oh, Maxwell Hiller. Hiller's brother is really good at hoops. I don't know. I'm not sure what grade. I think he's younger, if I remember right. Maybe I'm wrong. Either he's at a small school and transferred, he's a younger kid. I can't remember which. I get the Hiller brothers mixed up, but he's a good hooper. Hurricane Hicks, Gamble may want to stay home. It's possible. I've heard a lot of things on him, but again, South Florida kid, April, I'm not real worried about that. Max Morgan, I don't think he's going to end up at Miami. I wouldn't put it past him, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's a multiple commitment thing because he's got a lot of people pulling him different directions. Florida was the leader, but that's changed quite a bit. Tommy Guns, number 7 only matters if there is a hard number of players that meet the first 6. This is the problem with the services that only give a certain number of players that 5-star status. I'm glad you brought this up. I thought about this. The way it works, and I've had people from 24/7 on 3, et cetera, explain this to me. They're trying to match the NFL draft, which is dumb. Certain years, there's more 5-stars than others. Literally. For those of you that are ND people on here, like my buddy Brian Driscoll, he does a top 50 is kind of like his 5-star radius. In just generically. He doesn't worry about ranking 1 through 10 or whatever, I don't think, or 1 through 50. I agree with that more because we're talking about kids that mostly aren't even old enough to vote by the time they're playing their senior year. So give a little variance. The only reason they really rank them is because people are just absolutely, unequivocally fascinated and love to complain about rankings. Yes, I said it. Fans love to complain, especially about their team. Everybody thinks their team is getting cheated. 100%. It's Georgia fans, and I'm not kidding, will bitch about rankings. Are you serious? You guys are top 3 every year. So that's the issue with that. But some years, the classes are deeper. Therefore, there are more players that I think should be 5-star. I don't know how many it's going to be this year. I've got about 15 or so that I'm pretty steadfast with. Again, each day I'm going to release more. But this is a great point by Tommy. It really, really is. Tommy, a 5-star is a 5-star regardless of how few or how many other 5-stars there are. 100%. 100%. Katie, 5-star recruits that sign with 3-star head coaches become portal players. 3-star recruits signing with 5-star head coaches go to the NFL. It's possible. It's very possible. 5-star coaches find ways to motivate kids that other guys don't. That's the bottom line. Max Morgan. Yeah, Brian, DJ Jacobs and Mark Matthews to the Canes. It could be. It's very possible. Jared Moore, Osana Gales has a real high football IQ, 100%, and knows how to win the one-on-ones. That's what win games on the perimeter. Osani is my favorite route runner in the class of 2027. Great kid, too. Plays at IMG Academy. Tommy Guns, Brian, I'm going to throw out a randomly high number just for argument's sake. Are you willing to give 40, 50, or 60 guys 5-star status if you believe they are all that good, or do you limit it vainly? No, it's just number. My guess is it's somewhere between 30 and 40 most years, but because there are 32 teams and it's officially 32 to start a draft, like there end up being more in the first round because of trades and it ends up being like 35 or 36. They do 32. Well, what if it's 27? Sometimes it just is what it is. So, yeah, I don't buy that there's a definitive number. I'm not a big fan of that. Hurricane Hicks. If a player reclassifies, does he drop a star? I think the problem with that is politics. This is a great question. I can give you a couple of examples, but they don't want to tick off people, is my opinion on it. I'm not going to name specific players here, but some of the guys that have reclassed haven't been as high up, even though they were more highly coveted by the schools that like all of us talk to. And it's because you're dealing with kids that you've been dealing with for longer. And that kid, if he reclassed, he's done with his recruitment. They don't have as much value to some of these industries, in my opinion. That's a problem. The kids that don't commit early sometimes get a little extra because there's more to talk about. You commit early to Ohio State or something, shut down your recruitment. It could be Baylor. It doesn't matter. If you're a 5-star, you're a 5-star, but there's nothing for them to talk about. That's a problem. That's the issue. Not if they're a top player. No, says Max Morgan. I agree. Tommy. Man, for the longest time, I thought your name was Hurricane Chicks. Yeah, me too. My apologies. Tommy, well, you can ignore my last question now. Yeah, don't worry about that, brother. Katie, over the last 5 seasons, Georgia has sent more players to the NFL than any other team in college football. Not surprising. Part of that, though, is that 21-22 group. They were unbelievable. Hurricane Hicks, UJ is a machine at this point. No argument there. All Kane 75. Howdy, Brian. Been following you through different podcasts for almost 3 years. I really enjoy your expertise. Question: what's the difference between a 5-star and a 5-star plus one? Depends on who you talk to. I looked into that recently. Like, that's a guy that's just no doubter. Maybe he just, depending on the network or who you speak with, everybody voted him as like a top 5 player. Or not only that, it's the position he plays. Like, let's use Mark Matthews. You're a Miami fan. I'm sure you're familiar. He's an offensive tackle. It's a little easier. Position matters. Good kid, plays at a great high school program, goes against a really good competition, all that stuff. It's pretty hard to go against that. We'll do it for today's Portal Podcast. Again, appreciate everybody. Please like and subscribe if you have not. There will be more 5-star madness starting next week when I get back. I'll have news from Battle Nationals in Nashville, Tennessee. We'll talk about the best players and all that too. We're going to have fun again on Monday when we get back. But check out the Portal Podcast, like and subscribe. Give us a 5-star review, and make sure you check out the Everydayer Club. This has been the Portal Podcast.